You're lying in bed, scrolling through your phone, when an ad appears for the exact pair of shoes you thought about buying 3 days ago. You never searched for them. You never said their name out loud. And yet, here they are, waiting in your feed, as if your phone had somehow crawled inside your head and taken notes. Your first thought is that it's listening. Everyone's first thought is that it's listening. But what's actually happening is stranger and far more precise than anything a microphone could catch. Your phone doesn't need to hear you. It just needs to watch you. Every time you pick it up, you leave behind a trail of tiny signals you never think about. How long you pause on a photo before scrolling past it. Whether you tap once or twice, how fast your thumb moves when you're bored versus when you're interested, whether you type quickly and confidently or hesitate, delete and retype. None of this feels like information. It feels like nothing. But to the system watching, it's everything. This is called behavioral data, and it's collected constantly, silently, in the background of your ordinary day. Not just inside one app, but across almost everything you touch. The weather app you opened this morning knows your location. The game you played on your commute knows how long you played and when you quit in frustration. The shopping app knows which product photos you zoomed into and which ones you scrolled past without a second glance. Individually, each of these fragments looks harmless. Together, they form something else entirely, a shape, a pattern, a version of you built not from what you've said, but from what you've done. And patterns, it turns out, are far more honest than words. Think about how differently you behave when no one is watching. You might tell a friend you're fine, but your phone sees you open the same 3 apps at 2 a.m., scroll without really reading, close them, and open them again 30 seconds later. It sees the difference between a normal Tuesday and a Tuesday where you check your notifications 40% more than usual. It notices when your typing slows down, when your replies get shorter, when you start lingering on posts about topics you never used to care about. You don't have to say you're going through something. Your patterns say it for you. This is where the myth of listening quietly falls apart. Listening would actually be less efficient. Audio is messy, expensive to process, and legally risky for companies to touch directly. Behavioral prediction is cheaper, quieter, and often more accurate. If enough people who search for a certain term, linger on certain images, and follow certain accounts end up buying a certain product 2 days later, the system doesn't need to hear you say the word. It just needs to notice that you match the pattern. You didn't get profiled because you were overheard. You got profiled because you were statistically predictable, and the data doesn't stop at your phone screen. Your device is constantly emitting a quiet stream of technical detail that has nothing to do with what you type or tap. It knows which Wi-Fi networks are nearby, which tells it where you are, even with location services off. It knows which other devices are near you, which can hint at who you're with. It knows your device model, your battery health, your screen brightness habits, the exact way you hold your phone based on tiny movements from the internal sensors. Combined, these details create something called a device fingerprint, a signature so specific that it can identify you almost as reliably as your face. Now add in something most people never think about, the websites you visit outside of any app at all. Hidden inside countless web pages are small, invisible trackers, tiny snippets of code placed there by advertising networks. You don't see them, you don't click on them, but when you load a page, they quietly report back that you were there. One tracker on a recipe site, another on a news article, another on a product page you looked at for 11 seconds before closing the tab. None of these companies are the same company, but many of them sell what they collect to the same handful of data brokers, businesses whose entire purpose is to buy fragments of you from 100 different sources and stitch them into a single, disturbingly complete profile. What makes this stitching possible is something you rarely think about. The email address and phone number you use to sign into almost everything. That single piece of information acts like a thread, and every company you hand it to can tie their fragment of you onto the same thread as everyone else's fragment. The fitness app knows your sleep schedule. The delivery app knows what you eat when you're stressed. The airline app knows when you travel and with how many people. None of them meant to build a psychological profile of you on their own. But once those fragments get threaded together behind the scenes, that's exactly what exists. Somewhere on a server you will never see. And it isn't only about the accounts you've made. Advertising systems are built to make educated guesses about people who've never signed up for anything at all, stitching together device signals, shared Wi-Fi networks, and household patterns until they can guess who you probably are, who you probably live with, and what you probably want, even without a name attached. Privacy researchers have a name for this, a shadow profile. A version of you exists inside these systems whether or not you ever agreed to it. There's also a process running in the background every single time an app opens, one most people have never heard of. In the fraction of a second between you unlocking your phone and an ad appearing, dozens of advertisers can be bidding against each other for the right to show you something. each one deciding in real time how much you, specifically, are worth to reach at that exact moment. Your attention isn't just being predicted, it's being auctioned. This profile doesn't just know what you bought, it estimates your income bracket, your relationship status, whether you're likely to be a parent, whether you recently moved, whether you're the kind of person who impulse buys late at night or carefully researches for weeks. Some of these systems have been so precise that they've predicted major life events before the people involved had told anyone. There have been well-documented cases of retailers identifying that a customer was pregnant, based purely on subtle shifts in purchasing patterns, before the customer had shared the news with their own family. Let that sit for a second. A shift in what unscented lotion you bought was enough to reveal something deeply personal, something you hadn't even told the people closest to you, and pregnancy is just one example. The same kind of prediction can flag a breakup, a job loss, a move to a new city, or a health scare. Not because anyone typed those words into a search bar, but because the shape of a life in transition looks statistically different from the shape of a life that isn't. Slower replies, new search categories appearing out of nowhere, a sudden spike in browsing at 3 a.m. instead of 11 p.m. To you, these feel like private, invisible shifts. To the pattern matching system underneath your apps, they're a signal as loud as a headline. This is the part that turns from clever to unsettling. The algorithm isn't just recording your life. In many ways, it's shaping it. Once a system knows what keeps you scrolling, it doesn't just show you more of it, it engineers a stream designed to keep the pattern going. This is why the feed never quite runs out. This is why one video turns into 40. The reward isn't constant, it's random, arriving just often enough to keep your thumb moving. The same psychological mechanism that makes slot machines so hard to walk away from. You're not weak for feeling pulled in. You're responding exactly the way the system was built to make you respond. Even the timing of your notifications isn't arbitrary. Systems track when you're most likely to open an app and least likely to ignore a buzz in your pocket, then wait for that exact window before nudging you. Not too early, when you might dismiss it. Not too late, when the moment has passed. Right at the edge of your attention, when curiosity beats willpower almost every time. Multiply that by dozens of apps, all competing for the same scarce resource, which is simply how much of your day you're willing to give away in small, 3-second increments. So the question stops being, is my phone listening to me, and becomes something a little harder to sit with. What does it mean when a piece of software understands your habits, your moods, your vulnerabilities, and your desires better than most of the people in your life do? What does it mean when your own patterns are used, not to understand you, but to keep you engaged, to keep you buying, to keep you scrolling just one more minute? And the profile built from all of this doesn't necessarily stay confined to ads. The same kind of behavioral score that decides which shoes you get shown can quietly influence which price you're offered for insurance, which loan terms you qualify for, or even which job listings show up in your search results. Two people with identical qualifications can be treated differently by an algorithm that has decided, based on patterns invisible to either of them, that one is a slightly better bet than the other. You rarely see this happening. There's no notification that says your data just cost you an opportunity. It simply happens quietly, on the other side of a decision you assumed was neutral. None of this means you have to throw your phone into the ocean. It means learning to see the pattern for what it is. You can turn off ad personalization in your settings. You can limit app tracking permissions instead of clicking allow out of habit. You can clear cookies, use privacy-focused browsers, and pay attention to which apps request access to your contacts, your microphone, your location, and ask yourself if they actually need it. None of these steps make you invisible, but each one shrinks the picture the system is drawing of you. Because here's the truth underneath all of it. The algorithm was never reading your mind, it was reading your patterns, and it built a version of you convincing enough to feel like magic. But magic is just a trick you haven't figured out yet, and now that you've seen how the trick works, the feed doesn't feel quite as mysterious. It just feels like a mirror, showing you back to yourself, one tap at a time. So the next time an ad shows up for something you only just thought about, you won't wonder if your phone was listening. You'll know it was watching. And this time, so are you.